What up, you amazing hackers? It's your boy, the humble hacker from Chi-Town, returning with another walkthrough. And today, we hitting up vulnerability scanning. Let's get into it. Alright, so what is vulnerability scanning? Alright, so vulnerability scanning is a way of identifying flaws and weaknesses in software and or systems. There's a lot more technical terms into it, but we keeping it basic, keep getting our foundation straight. So another way to go about it is put this into historical terms, easier to understand, and allowing me to paint a story, kind of like Bob Ross, as he amazingly creates a work of art on a canvas in a nice, soothing, and relaxing tone. Our story that we'll be utilizing is the tale of David and Goliath. I know my voice increased there, just making sure you guys aren't sleeping. Now, this is basically the story of a normal person, like us, that is facing impossible odds, meaning the Goliath. This is the hardened target. So we, like David, that's armed with just a cloth and about 4 or 5 rocks, wanting all the smoke. See how it says Bruce? Oh, you see how Mr. Bruce Lee is saying, "Come at me, bro." This is basically us whenever we're going at a target. I'm very short in stature, so this hits home for me a little bit. Anyway, moving on. Our secondary way of thinking about it is the story of Achilles. Now, think of it like this: his mother, this dingy-looking heifer right here, aka our target, is fearful of a prophecy that she was informed about, that her child will die at a young age. The child represents the company's data or their vulnerable system, and their system being compromised is a part of the prophecy, meaning the death of the child. So what this mother decides to do is to take her child and dollar store baptize him in a river where the water possesses whoever bathes in it with invulnerability. But his mama forgot one thing. She was not thorough and failed to dip in Achilles' heel. Achilles? Dude with the bad ankle. Alright, so since his ankle was not dipped in this water to make him invulnerable, he was impervious everywhere else except his heel. This is what vulnerability scanning consists of. It sees a potentially invulnerable target and it finds a way to defeat it from a very unconventional place, which is a heel. I mean, I know you could stomp on somebody's foot, but to specifically know that your heel is bad, that's something completely different. Let's keep it pushing. What are we going to be working on today? We're going to be working on 3 different methods to accomplish our vulnerability scanning tactics. That's going to be using our Nmap scripting engine, which was in one of my scanning modules. We're going to be using Nessus vulnerability scanner, a commercial scanner, and an open source Openvos vulnerability scanner. So let us see what is first. Nmap scripting engine. This is one of my favorite go-to tools to start off first because it's dealing locally on the system here. And this is located locally on our machine, either on Kali Linux or on Parrot, which is user, share, nmaps, and scripts. Now this has a huge lists. Sweet Mary and Joseph. So this has a huge list of potential vulnerabilities based off of service. Now, we call on the scripting engine from our Nmap scan. We specify what port that we're on. We enumerate the version with the -SV, and we call the NSC via a --script equals. And I'll show you this in a demonstration. Now, we can use another script that'll be a little bit more pinpoint accurate, instead of just blindly picking a group of vulnerabilities and running those. That's going to be something that's called vulnscan. This is a script that pulls vulnerabilities from multiple databases files that it contains. It has a housing of CSV files from different places like security focus OS, VB, I believe is the name of an exploit DB as well. So you'll get a full listing of every single thing that matches whatever bugs have been located at. Our next tool that we'll be looking at is going to be the Nessus vulnerability scanner. Now, this is a commercial vulnerability scanner, and unfortunately that means one thing, or two things actually, that one, will have limited capabilities with this thing, and two, it's going to come with a hefty price tag. So this is the URL where we can obtain a download for Nessus that matches our system specifications. We'll also need to obtain an activation key as well from here. Now, this contains multiple modules to create more pinpoint accurate scanning types, but there's a small list in the commercial edition. In the professional edition, there are a lot, but in order to use that, that's going to cost you about 3 G's. I don't have that. I don't think they take my EBT cards, but whatever. Anyway, moving on. Our next tool is going to be called Openvos. Now, this is an open source vulnerability scanning program made by Greenborn. Now, this contains a database that is fed constantly when we update our feed. These are pulling data called network vulnerability tests. So these are numerous like files that have been added to show that there's a vulnerability here, and there. This is very free. It's has a lot of different options, but some basic ones that we'll be putting our focus on. Since this is open source, the application for this thing is pretty decently priced. Let me see. I think it's about times 4, carry the 3, free 90 free. So we ain't got nothing to worry about with that. All right. Now, enough of the explanations. Let's get to peeping what these things do, as if our name was Tom. Not really, because that is very gross, and I think that's a crime. Anyway, moving on. Demo time! Thank you very much for joining me on this wonderful presentation here. So let's get crack-a-lacking on to our demos. Alright, let's get started with our first example. That's going to be the Nmap scripting engine that from our first demonstration. So now let us see how that works. Now, per the presentation, we can locate these by simply going over to user, share, Nmap, scripts, and once we list off all of this like blam, these are all of the scripting files that look for specific different types of vulnerabilities here. So we have checking for FTP. We have a lot of HTTP scanning right here. We have a few things from Metasploit, checking MS SQL. We have some Telnet here, SSL, a couple of SSHs. So how this works is very, very simple. We don't blind this out, meaning that we don't do it like this, putting in Nmap, and then we just put script, and then whatever, either just HTTP, and then putting in the address. We got to be a little bit more accurate. Now, we can use this for whatever type of port that we have that we want to enumerate on, but it works best once we specify the actual service version first, as well as the port to kind of speed up the process a little bit. So we can use this, and we don't have to, but for the sake of the demonstration, I'm just going to show you guys first what how to obtain a good scan of what we have so far. About Nmap, I believe my target's IP address is 131. Actually, let me confirm that. Finding an address with the IP ADDR. Okay, 110. Let's fix this. Change this 8 to a 0. And did I do that correctly? 110, 129. All right. So when it comes to Nmap, I like running this in 3 different ways. One, this is our basic search here. Next up, in order to ensure that we are working with everything correctly, I like to use the -p-, which is to scan all ports. Now we see that this had already completed. Still, we only have 2. Since this is filtered, high chance it's not going to be open, but it's 50-50 shot on this one. So since we have something that might be open, let's look at our available scripts for this particular service. FTP right here, which we got FTP right here. Not all of this, but just this one section right here. Now how we can call it, we simply get our scan here again. Let's specify port 21. Enumerate the version, then take that, combine it with our Nmap scripting engine. Once I learn how to spell script correctly, equals. Now here comes a little trick here. We have multiple ones. We can either run them one at a time, or we can use a wildcard, which will go for all of these. I highly do not recommend doing this with HTTP. I prefer doing it with as specific as possible in order to speed up the process of scanning. So we have HTTP, von, dash, and then we could put a star at the end of that, and this will only scan everything from here down to here. We can also use WAF detect or a WAF fingerprint as well for doing like bug bounty hunting. So here we're just going to use FTP dash and then star. Then we run that. So what this did was that it went, it scanned port 21, enumerated the version, but since it's filtered, we really couldn't get anything from it. And it tried to scan with everything that has FTP. Now let's switch this up and let's show the example of the HTTP. Dash, we're going to do dash von dash star, change this port to 80, and then we're going to run that. So as I mentioned before, what this is going to do is going to take everything from here all the way down to here, run all these scripts against port 80, and then give us the responses, which looks like it did find something from this script here. Let's just see the CVE 2011-392. Let's see if that matches over here. And I just that fast forgot what the hell the damn number was. 2011-3192. 2011-3192. So this particular script right here was flagged, saying that we found a potential vulnerability with this. This is Apache byte range filter denial of service. So this basically says that we could potentially use this to attack the target. Well, there we have it. So that was a nice little demonstration of the Nmap scripting engine. Next up, we will be going with Nessus or OpenVos. We'll find out on the next one. Alrighty, so now what are we going to be hitting up? Nessus. So how this process works is that when it comes with Nessus, we have to follow a certain amount of steps. In order for us to be able to install it, we got to download it first. And here is where we will download our version of Nessus in order to match our system's architecture. Now, this one does have one that is specifically for Kali, which is right here, the Debian 6 AMD64 DEB file. Basically what we do, we download this, we get our activation code immediately after, where we will go over to the essentials, enter in our first name, last name, email address, and this is where the activation key is going to be sent to in order to install it. I've already installed it, so I don't have to do it again, but when we go over to our folder that has this particular file in it, we're going to run this DEB file by running the command dpkg, the letter lowercase I, and our Nessus file. Shortly after, what this will do is it will install, it will tell us to start the service, and then go over to the page where Nessus will be in with both the page and port, the address and port, which is basically the local host, and port 8834 of where it'll install. This takes a long time to install. The positive is that the only module that we will be focusing on is host discovery. Now, going from what I was saying, these are the other additional modules that we can use, but those are the ones we're going to have to pay for in order to use them. Now, there is host discovery, basic network scan, advanced dynamic, and web application tests. But these essentially do the same thing as our host discovery, but these are a little bit more, you can fine tune them and be a little bit more accurate. So the host discovery, we just put in like the address, the name of the scan, the type, and it runs and does its thing. For the other ones, like for example, the basic network scan, this works the exact same as host discovery, but with a little bit of added functionality. We can test login credentials with it, things of that nature. For our bug bounty hunting, you can do the web application tests, but these are the same as our basic network scan. The only difference is that this one requires our credentials to the target in order for us to be able to run it. So over in our crap, this is why I hate you, Nessus. Alright, it has detected that an API is disabled. Please shove it up your tailpipe, and thank you for ruining my demonstration, you douche ham schnozzle. Alright, so what we would normally do with Nessus, if it worked, we would simply put in, as I was saying, put in our IP address, give the scan a name, and give it a, I think it is, yeah, what address range that we want to use. It will run the scan. It will go detect whatever exploits that it can find on that particular IP address and give us our responses that we could have used if Yo Derriere worked. You content K9 or basic B. All right, so we're gonna stop there and proceed to our next module, which will be Openvos. See you there. Okay, let's go with our next one, which is going to be Openvos. So here we are in Parrot within VirtualBox. So we're going to go over to our Pentesting folder, and oh wow, there's no organization up in here. Actually, it might be up here. Yeah, please. Yay, thank you. All right, cool. So let's go over to our Pentesting folder, vulnerability analysis, and then go over to our Openvos. Go over to start a new installation. So password for here is, since this is a guest account, Parrot, I thought. Okay, so it was Tor, T-O-O-R. All right, cool. So we're going to use that. Change that password later. Now this is going through the installation process. This is our password that it is being set up as. No, I am not going to memorize any of that. So I'm just going to let it run and start up our service here. So what it's doing is updating the database file that contains all the vulnerabilities that is with Greenborn for this application Openvos. So we're just waiting for that to finish building itself out. And we will pause right here until it is done. All right, so now that that's done, we have our admin user, which is created. We have our password, which is created. Now let's double check something here. One thing that we can do, hopefully it's installed on this version of Parrot, which is to change this password here using an application called Openvos MD. So let's see if we can find it. If this is actually on here. Okay, command is not found, meaning we cannot change this password. Damn. All right, but if we could, how it would work is we call the application, we specify the user, which would be admin. Then we would put in, we would enter in this command to enter in our new password, equals of course, but since it's not here, we cannot use it. So our next step is to now start the service. So let's go ahead and start this. Enter in our password. Now, this is going to be starting up this install. Open up the web UI here. Now, since this is on VMware, I'm going to have to use a different box for this here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a generic one. I had fun using Venom, so we'll use it again. All right, we'll go ahead and start this box up. Wait for this to bring us to our login. Okay, so this should have opened up in our browser here. So let's go and manually open this up. Oh, snappies. Hold up. Okay, good. Thought I closed it out, but I didn't. Okay. So we have our potential security risk. It's not. Accept the risk and continue. So in order to find the IP address of this other machine that we have, let's run Nmap on this. Numlock is not on. Dang it! Let's go ahead and run Nmap on this subnet here in order to find the IP address of our new VM. Let's see here. Let's see, find out why we cannot. Whoops, because it is not here. Nice little trick to be able to communicate with the VMs is go over to our network tab, change this to NAT network, and set this to promiscuous mode to allow all, meaning that either a VM or our machine can connect to this here. So let us try this command again. All right. Okay. All right, so now we're going to run Nmap again. It did not immediately populate as fast, meaning that, yep, we are able to connect here and see what addresses are on our targets. So we have this here. Where is our, alrighty. And we have this here. So we have our login screen. Take our password. And when I find out how to fix this to reset the password, then I'll definitely do a video on that. Just go over to our browser window. Go ahead and click login. Go ahead and save that. Let's begin our generic scan. Now, how we're going to do that, we're going to go over to our scans tab here. Click on tasks. We're going to create a new task via this wizard right here. This magic wand right here in the corner. Click on task wizard. Now we're going to take the IP address, which is not there, on this vulnerable machine here. We're going to do some configuring. So we're going to copy this, go over to Greenborn, set this here, and we're going to start our scan. This should start it, but unfortunately it says failed to find port in. Oh my god, you stink. Alright, so let's see what is the dealio with this here. Let us update this. And how this scan would normally work is that we would run a generic scan first. It would give us our responses from what it all finds from its database, and then we can create a more accurate scan by simply going over to our scans here again with tasks, but we can create a new task that is going to be specific for this target here again. Now hopefully this thing decides to work so we can do this. Here we are updating our feeds. And hang on one second. Let's go with the new task right here. And here's where we'll basically create another task as well. This is more of what we need here. So let's go ahead and change this name over to Venom. Scan targets. This will be from what is a response from this task wizard. But since we don't have that and can't do that, we're just going to put it in manually. So, and so we're going to go and name this target here. Okay, our host is manual, putting in the IP address from there. And what type of scan do we want to use? We wanted to check SSH. You can if you want. And our scanning for what we want to do. This is just to see if it's alive. Let's see. Hopefully, we can click this button right here in order to scan it. No, we cannot, because it cannot find a port list. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. You stink to high heaven. And looks like we might have a little bit of difficulty using this one as well. Our scan config. Let me see if we can select this. No, we cannot. We can choose either our Openvos or CVE scanning. Unfortunately, this is not letting us do this here. It sucks when things do not come together. That would be reference to the B team, not the A team, where plans do not work for the B team. Holy habanero peppers in high heaven. Okay. So, that kind of sucks. But I will add a backup video in order to get the stuff looking straight. Let's see, another way of doing this is definitely through another application that's going to be called Nikto. That is going to be similar to these, and how we do that is we insert the command Nikto, specify the host as which one that we found, 10.0.2.9. Let's go ahead and copy this IP address here and simply place that http:// right in front of that. And this is going to perform a vulnerability scanning strictly on this particular IP. Same thing for what Openvos does, but a little bit more basic. It's not going to have an entire library of available vulnerabilities in order to present to us as exploits that we can follow. So let us check out that other tab for this one here. It is still pulling in the data, failing to connect. Oh my goodness gracious, you stink. And that kind of puts a damper on our work here. But we're still going to do everything that we can to just be a little bit more full of options here. So here we have a vulnerability here from OSVDB. This would also be in our VulnScan folder as well. Finds this particular path here that we can find some information on. So I'm just rambling here. This is some stuff that we would normally find in Openvos or in Nessus, but both of them decided to tick me off and not work. So I'm just giving you a generic rundown here on some other tools here that we can find locally on our system, which is the Nmap scripting engine as well as Nikto. So that was basically just an overall rundown of how this looks, how we're supposed to start scans if we did not have errors in them, to be able to scan targets and stuff. I don't normally like using these two because of the massive complications that these things love to give. But I just want to definitely show off these two options here. I can't say I hope you liked it because we really didn't get the chance to do much from these two things, but it's a process. Once I get these things fixed, I'll definitely have a better version of this, but here's our overall gist. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop a comment. I'm Ch1-R0n1n's, and I am out.